Anyone who has ever played Minecraft is probably familiar with this image. This is a one-to-one recreation of the Starship Enterprise in Minecraft. It was made by Halcoon in 2010 on Alpha 1.1, although work likely started during the InfDev builds of the game. All work at the time had been done by Halcoon himself, which at the time was almost unheard of. The Starship Enterprise project is likely the most well-known of Minecraft's insane mega builds. It even holds up to today's standard of mega building. I would wager that this build alone inspired hundreds, if not thousands, of players to build their own massive structures. As time has passed, more and more mega builds have surfaced, some standing the test of time and others falling somewhat into obscurity. New tools were introduced like World Edit, which made making these massive builds much easier. The mega build has become a sort of goal in many players' eyes, something to strive for, working tirelessly day and night to see it happen. I myself have developed a love for these builds. At the moment, I am planning one out that will dwarf every single build that I have ever done. To really get a good understanding of the scale of Minecraft mega builds, I need to first explain what a mega build actually is. A mega build is any kind of Minecraft build that encompasses a large space or a large set of areas. A mega build could be a one-by-one recreation of a building from real life, such as this build of the Swedish Parliament House made by E.C. Ryder back in 2009, or they could be compilations of several smaller builds that all come together to make one larger build. An example of this being Greenfield. This is a group build of an entire city in Minecraft, featuring thousands of individual buildings, most of which have decorated interiors. Greenfield is known as Minecraft's largest city. There is a debate about whether or not a recreation of New York City is larger, but most people believe Greenfield is simply because it is more detailed. The decorated interiors of Greenfield's buildings are part of what makes this mega project so interesting. Projects of this scale are always hard enough to take on when you're only building the outside of things. Going inside and decking out each floor of a skyscraper and then doing that again for hundreds of them is so much harder. There's no other group that understands this more than Build the Earth. Build the Earth is a project to rebuild the entire Earth in Minecraft on a 1x1 scale. This build has been worked on by over 1,000 individual builders and several different build teams. It currently encompasses over 7,000 square miles of land. This makes it the largest single mega build project I've ever seen, and most of it isn't even connected. I really have to give the members of Build the Earth some credit here. This is such a large project that there is a debate on whether or not it's even possible. Looking at the challenges this project faces, it is likely that the project is possible but won't be finished for several years, possibly even decades. Estimates on the amount of buildings necessary to create the Earth range in the billions. The group would need millions of builders to accomplish this task in a reasonable amount of time. With all of these challenges and the sheer scale of the project weighing over them, these guys are still going strong. Their dedication for the project is partially what inspires me to dedicate myself to my own large builds. My own builds are what many would call old school. I still shoot for the largest builds I can pull off, but prefer to avoid doing things like terraforming. This rules out one of the greatest tools in mega building, that tool being World Edit. I prefer to work by hand, and as such, my favorite builds are ones that are done entirely by hand, or at least mostly by hand in survival. One of the most common places where this is done is on public survival servers. Mostly those started years ago before programs like World Edit were mainstream. My favorite of these servers is 2b2t, the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, or whatever Fit says these days. 2b2t has been the source of many of Minecraft's greatest team and solo projects, fighting against griefers and their own limitations to achieve greatness. I've done a lot of digging into 2b2t's various mega bases, the most impressive of which being made by solo players over the course of months if not years. My favorite of these builds being Crowbar's Mother of All Keeps. Crowbar's Mother of All Keeps was quite possibly the greatest solo project ever made on 2b2t. As of now, it no longer exists, having been grieved years ago. The sheer size and level of detail for the limited blocks used is extraordinary. The keep being made by one person makes it even more amazing. I could never imagine making anything quite this detailed, and it being on 2b2t makes the spectacle of this base even greater. Crowbar is among the best builders on 2b2t and has made other builds on the server. Most of those though were with groups and not solo projects. There are several other great builds from 2b2t's history besides MOAK, Space Valkyrie 3 being one of my personal favorites. MOAK and some other builds like it have inspired me to build some of my own builds. I've sat on ideas in creative for years before, and these builds are what have kept me going on many of them. This is the exact part of mega building that I find most interesting, that being the idea itself. This is what I believe to be the reason why Minecraft is such a hotbed for these projects. There are so many people out there creating things and sharing them. It's a constant drip feed of inspiration for creative-minded people looking for somewhere to make their art. Once the idea is there, it stays in the back of your mind, gnawing away at you until you finish it. Then, once you're done, you of course want to share your work. So you go to Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever else you feel is best and post your builds. Then others see it, and the cycle begins again. The more and more this happens, the more and more people begin to make builds. As time goes on, these people get better and better at it until they are eventually making mega builds. Mega building has been at the heart of Minecraft for over a decade now, and I don't think it'll ever die out. Even if Minecraft were to fall into obscurity, those who have made mega builds over the years will filter out into other games and continue their craft there. Some may even take those skills out into the real world in some way and perpetuate the cycle of our nature to create. If you're thinking about taking that 2-week dive into Minecraft right now, then I highly suggest doing so. Head in and make something amazing. Start a project that you can eventually look back on with pride. But most importantly, have fun doing it. I've been Parker the Rat, and I will see you when I have been released from this infernal contraption.